Gremlins, 1984, 20 Weird Facts You Didn't Know. Gremlins wasn't just a Christmas movie. It was a nightmare wrapped in fur, dipped in chaos, and sold as family entertainment. But behind the mayhem, the rules, and those terrifying little monsters, nothing was simple. The puppets malfunctioned, the set flooded, and one scene pushed the boundaries so far it changed Hollywood ratings forever. These are 20 weird facts about Gremlins, and buried in the madness, a gremlin that wasn't supposed to survive but became the franchise's biggest star. Buckle up. This sleigh ride's about to get dark. Number 1. The movie theater massacre scene didn't just shock audiences. It terrified the Motion Picture Association. When Steven Spielberg screened the rough cut, censors sat frozen as gremlins were chainsawed, blended, and microwaved on screen. They called it too violent for a PG rating, but Spielberg refused to cut it. He argued the violence was cartoonish, not realistic. The MPAA didn't agree, but they also didn't have an answer. PG was too soft. R was too harsh, so they created something new. 2 months after Gremlins hit theaters, the PG-13 rating was born. One movie, one microwave scene, and Hollywood's rating system changed forever. Number 2. Gizmo wasn't supposed to be the hero. In Chris Columbus's original script, Gizmo transformed into Stripe, the evil leader of the Gremlins. The cute Mogwai you loved in Act 1 became the monster you feared in Act 3. It was darker, more tragic, and Spielberg hated it. He told Columbus, "The audience will never forgive you if Gizmo turns bad." So they rewrote it. Gizmo stayed innocent, and Stripe became a separate character. That one change saved the franchise, because without Gizmo as the heart of the story, there's no sequel, no merchandise, no legacy. Spielberg didn't just protect a puppet. He protected a billion-dollar brand. Number 3. The Gremlins weren't just puppets. They were a logistical nightmare. Chris Wallace and his team built over 30 different gremlin puppets, each designed for specific actions. Some could blink, some could snarl, some could walk, but barely. During filming, the mechanisms constantly jammed. Wires snapped. Foam heads collapsed. In one scene, a gremlin was supposed to leap off a table, but the spring-loaded rig misfired and launched it straight into a lighting fixture. The crew had to stop filming for an hour to repair the damage. Joe Dante later said controlling the gremlins was like herding drunk cats with broken legs. But the chaos worked. Because when the Gremlins finally moved on screen, they felt alive, unpredictable, dangerous. Sometimes the best performances come from things barely holding together, working just long enough. Number 4. Phoebe Cates's monologue about her father's death wasn't in the original script. The scene where Kate reveals her dad died dressed as Santa, stuck in the chimney, was added late in production. Spielberg loved it. Dante thought it was too dark. Test audiences were split. Some laughed nervously, others sat in stunned silence. But Cates delivered it with such sincerity, such haunted calm, that it became one of the most memorable moments in the film. It's absurd, tragic, and deeply unsettling all at once. And that tonal whiplash? That's Gremlins in a nutshell. A movie that could make you laugh at a gremlin in a blender and cry over a dead dad in a Santa suit, sometimes in the same breath. Number 5. The movie was almost called Gremlins the Movie, but that wasn't the strangest title considered. Early drafts had names like Gizmo and Mogwai Madness. Warner Brothers wanted something punchy, something that screamed chaos. They tested dozens of titles with focus groups, and Gremlins kept winning. But here's the weird part. The word gremlin wasn't invented for the movie. It came from World War II Royal Air Force pilots who blamed mechanical failures on mischievous creatures they called gremlins. The myth was so widespread, that Roald Dahl wrote a book about them in 1943. So when Columbus wrote his script, he wasn't creating a monster. He was resurrecting one, a creature born from wartime paranoia, repackaged for suburban America, and sold with a smile. Number 6. Corey Feldman didn't audition for the role of Pete Fontaine. He was cast because Spielberg saw him in a commercial and thought he had the right energy. Feldman showed up to set, barely knowing his lines, and improvised most of his scenes. In the sequence where Pete tries to convince Billy that gremlins are real, Feldman ad-libbed the line. "They're multiplying." Dante loved it so much he kept it in. Feldman later admitted he was terrified of the gremlin puppets. Between takes, he'd hide behind the camera crew, refusing to look at them. But on camera, he sold it, because sometimes fear makes the best performance. And in a movie about monsters, a kid genuinely scared of puppets was exactly what they needed. Number 7. The Kingston Falls set was built on the Warner Brothers backlot, and it wasn't new. The town square, the bank, the movie theater, all of it had been used in dozens of films before. The same street appeared in The Music Man, Gremlins, and later, Batman Returns. But for Gremlins, the set had to be dressed for Christmas, which meant fake snow. Tons of it. The crew used shaved ice, foam, and fire-retardant paper to create the winter wonderland. But under the California sun, it melted fast. Between takes, crew members would rush in with leaf blowers to redistribute the fake snow. By the end of the shoot, the set smelled like wet cardboard and regret. But on camera, it looked perfect. A small-town Christmas, hiding a melting mess just beneath the surface. Number 8. Howie Mandel voiced Gizmo, but he almost didn't. Mandel was a stand-up comedian with zero voice acting experience. He got the audition through a friend and showed up thinking it was a joke. Dante asked him to make cute, high-pitched noises, and Mandel, ever the comedian, went full cartoon. He chirped, squeaked, and babbled in a voice he later described as a mix between a baby and a dolphin. Dante hired him on the spot. But here's the twist. Mandel never saw the puppet while recording. He performed Gizmo's entire voice in a sound booth, alone, with no visual reference. He didn't see Gizmo until the premiere, and when he did, he cried. Because the creature he'd imagined in his head was now real, staring back at him from a 40-foot screen. Voice acting is a leap of faith. Mandel jumped blind and landed perfectly. Number 9. The bar scene where the Gremlins get drunk wasn't just played for laughs. It was a commentary. Chris Columbus wrote it as a satire of American excess, a twisted mirror of small-town bar culture. The Gremlins smoke, drink, play poker, and trash the place, acting like the worst kind of patrons. Dante leaned into it, filling the scene with visual gags. A gremlin wearing a lampshade, another passed out in a corner. One even flashes a patron. It's chaos, but it's also oddly human. Because the Gremlins aren't just monsters, they're us. Our greed, our gluttony, our lack of self-control, all wrapped in a puppet with sharp teeth. The scene was meant to be funny, but underneath it's a little too real. And that's what makes it brilliant. Number 10. The film's budget was $11 million, modest by 1984 standards. But the puppet work alone ate up nearly half of it. Chris Walas's team worked 18-hour days, building, repairing, and operating the Gremlins. Some puppets required up to 4 puppeteers to operate, one for the face, one for the arms, one for the body, and one for the tail. Coordinating all of them in a single take was nearly impossible. Dante would sometimes shoot a scene 30 times just to get the Gremlins' movements right, and even then, mistakes slipped through. In the scene where Stripe attacks Billy in the department store, you can briefly see a puppeteer's hand in the frame. Most audiences never noticed. But For the crew, it was a reminder. Perfection is impossible. You just aim for close enough and hope the magic hides the seams. Number 11. The movie was released on June 8, 1984, the same day as Ghostbusters. Warner Brothers panicked. They thought Gremlins would be buried, but something strange happened. Both movies became massive hits. Audiences saw Ghostbusters in the afternoon and Gremlins at night. The two films fed off each other, creating a summer of supernatural chaos. Gremlins made $153 million domestically, becoming one of the highest-grossing films of the year. But it wasn't just the box office. The movie sparked a merchandising frenzy. Gizmo dolls, lunchboxes, posters, even a cereal. By Christmas 1984, you couldn't escape Gremlins. A movie about the dangers of consumerism became one of the most aggressively marketed products of the decade. The irony wasn't lost on anyone, except maybe the studio accountants, who were too busy counting money to care. Number 12. The scene where Billy's mom, Lynn, fights off the Gremlins in the kitchen became an instant classic, but it was hell to shoot. Polly Holliday, who played Lynn, did most of her own stunts. She stabbed a gremlin with a kitchen knife, blended another, and shoved one in the microwave. The microwave scene took 3 days to film. The puppet kept malfunctioning, and the fake blood wouldn't spray correctly. On take 47, the gremlin's head finally exploded as scripted, covering the kitchen in green goo. The crew erupted in applause. Holliday, drenched in fake blood, just smiled and said, "Can we do it again?" Dante said no, because sometimes you only get one perfect take, and that was it. Number 13. The 3 rules for owning a Mogwai. Don't expose them to bright light, don't get them wet, and don't feed them after midnight were intentionally vague. Columbus wanted the rules to feel like folklore, passed down and half-remembered. But fans immediately started poking holes in them. When is midnight? What time zone? What counts as bright light? A flashlight? The sun? And how wet is too wet? A splash? A rainstorm? Columbus never answered. He said the ambiguity was the point. Rules in fairy tales are never logical. They're warnings, and warnings are scariest when you don't fully understand them. The Mogwai rules weren't meant to make sense. They were meant to make you nervous. And it worked. Number 14. Judge Reinhold has a blink-and-you-miss-it cameo as a bank teller. He's on screen for less than 10 seconds, but his scene was originally much longer. In the script, his character had a full conversation with Billy about a loan. But test audiences found it boring, so Dante cut it down to a single shot. Reinhold didn't find out until the premiere. He showed up expecting a supporting role and got a glorified extra credit. But he didn't complain, because in 1984, being in a Spielberg-produced movie, even for 10 seconds, was a career boost, and Reinhold's career did just fine. He went on to star in Beverly Hills Cop and Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Sometimes the scenes that get cut are the ones that set you free. Number 15. The film's original ending was much darker. In Columbus's script, after Billy defeats Stripe, the camera pulls back to reveal hundreds of Mogwai cocoons hidden throughout Kingston Falls. The implication? The gremlin invasion was just beginning. Spielberg vetoed it. He wanted a happy ending, something hopeful. So they rewrote it. Mr. Wing takes Gizmo back, and Billy is left with a lesson about responsibility. It's bittersweet, but it's clean. The darker ending would have been more honest. But Spielberg understood something Columbus didn't. Audiences don't go to Christmas movies to leave terrified. They go to feel safe. Number 16. The department store Climax was filmed at a real Montgomery Ward in Burbank. The store was closed for filming, but the crew had to work overnight to avoid disrupting business. They had 1 week to shoot the entire sequence. Dante used every inch of the space, turning escalators, display racks, and even the toy section into a battleground. The scene where Stripe is killed by sunlight was shot on the final night. The crew rigged a massive light rig to simulate the sun breaking through the skylight. When they flipped the switch, the light was so bright it temporarily blinded the camera operator. They had to reset and shoot it again. But the second take was perfect. Stripe melts, screams, and disintegrates in a puddle of green goo. It's grotesque, satisfying, and oddly beautiful. A monster dying in the light. A nightmare ending at dawn. Number 17. The film's score was composed by Jerry Goldsmith, one of Hollywood's greatest. But he almost turned it down. Goldsmith thought the script was too silly, too juvenile. Spielberg personally called him and said, "Trust me, this is special." In the end, Goldsmith agreed, and what he created was magic. The main theme is whimsical and menacing, a perfect reflection of the film's tone. But the gremlin attack music? Pure horror. Goldsmith used unconventional instruments, glass harmonicas, water phones, and even a serpent, a rare bass instrument, to create unsettling sounds. The result was a score that could shift from playful to terrifying in seconds. Goldsmith later said Gremlins was one of his favorite projects because it let him be weird, and weird, when done right, is unforgettable. Number 18. The movie was banned in several countries. Finland prohibited anyone under 16 from seeing it. Norway pushed the rating to 15. And in Sweden, it was initially banned outright before being re-released with heavy cuts. The violence, the dark humor, the Christmas setting, all of it was deemed too disturbing for children. But in America, it was marketed as a family film. Warner Brothers ran TV spots during Saturday morning cartoons. Parents took their kids expecting a cute creature feature and walked out traumatized. Complaints flooded in, but the controversy only fueled the box office because nothing sells tickets like outrage. Gremlins wasn't just a movie. It was a cultural flashpoint, a line in the sand between childhood innocence and something much darker. Number 19. Zach Galligan, who played Billy, was a complete unknown when he was cast. He'd done a few stage plays, but Gremlins was his first major film. Dante cast him because he had an everyman quality, someone audiences could root for. But Galligan struggled on set. He wasn't used to acting opposite puppets, and the technical demands of the shoot overwhelmed him. In one scene, he had to react to Gizmo being attacked, but the puppet wasn't working. Dante told him to just imagine it. Galligan closed his eyes, pictured the worst thing he could think of, and delivered the take. It worked, because sometimes the best acting happens when you stop trying to see what's there and start believing in what isn't. Number 20. The film's legacy wasn't just in theaters, it was in living rooms. When Gremlins hit VHS in 1985, it became one of the best-selling tapes of the year. Families rented it, recorded it, watched it on repeat. It became a Christmas tradition, a rite of passage. Kids who were too young to see it in theaters discovered it at home, often without parental supervision. And that's where the real magic happened. Because Gremlins, at its core, is a movie about breaking rules. And what better way to experience it than by sneaking it past your parents, watching it late at night, and feeling that perfect mix of fear and excitement. The movie didn't just entertain a generation, it corrupted one. And we loved every second of it. Gremlins didn't just scare us, it changed us. It proved that Christmas movies could have teeth, that family films could draw blood, and that sometimes the best stories are the ones that refuse to play it safe. So if you loved diving into the chaos, go ahead and like and subscribe. And tell us in the comments, what's your favorite Gremlin moment? The one that still makes you laugh, cringe, or check your closet before bed. Thanks for watching. And remember, it's always after midnight somewhere.